liberty has been around for as long as history's been written. So we want to advance the cause of liberty and explain how free people act and take care of themselves and how you can live in peace under those conditions, much more so than with authoritarianism.
21st century Jeffersonianism.
But there's no doubt the revolution is alive and well. It reminds me, of what happened in the 1960s. I was drafted in 1962, and I was in the Air Force for 5 years. But I do remember the turmoil that occurred in the 1960s, and there were some rough and tumble times there. And there was a saying that went that if you weren't a liberal, a bleeding heart liberal when you were 20, that you had no heart. But if you weren't a conservative by the time you were 40, you didn't have a brain. But I don't know, why can't we have a heart and a brain at the same time?
Bravo!
Because those people who are moved by humanitarian instincts of using force to make you better people and to redistribute wealth, the humanitarian, though, the one who really understands that if you care about your fellow man, I don't meet many people who say, I don't give a hoot about my fellow man. Most people do. But if you really do, you have to argue the case for freedom. You have to argue the case for sound money and limited government. This is what will help the maximum number of people, and I think that those ideas are alive and well, growing by leaps and bounds, and it is the alternative to endless growth of government and growth of spending, and we will not get out of this mess by spending more money and running up more debt. That will not work.
Can you call Marcelita? She tried to call me.
How well we're doing and how we will know about victory, because sometimes we don't win the daily battles. Sometimes elections don't go exactly as we want. But in the by the early 1970s, when that disaster, the Vietnam War, finally ended, two colonels got together, one American colonel, Harry Summers, and Colonel Tu, who was Vietnamese. And they got together to talk over how they were going to pick up the pieces and how we were going to get out of their country finally. So they were talking about it, and our colonel, still wanted to get the last word in. He says, listen, Colonel, he says, I want you to know, that you guys never beat us on the battlefield, not one time. And Colonel Tu looked at the American colonel, he says, yes, but it was also irrelevant. And that is the way it's going to be. We may have our ups and downs, we may have victories here and there, we may lose a few, but eventually we're going to win, and if you lose one battle, it's going to be irrelevant, because the cause of liberty will be victors at the ultimate test if we continue to do what we're doing now and to increase this revolution and spread this revolution throughout the land.
Yeah. Restore the Republic.
A true revolution has to have high goals. We have to strive for what seems to be impossible, because at times it just seems so overwhelming, and you don't spend as much time in Washington as I do. So if you think it's overwhelming, you ought to go to Washington for a while. A lot of friends will come up to me, they say, how have you done this for all these years? Don't you get tired? Haven't you become, so disgusted with it all and discouraged? And I said, no, not really. I said, it never bothered me that much, because I always protected myself by not having overly high expectations. And the victories have been always more than I had expected. But we do have to have high goals, and I am more energized now than I've been. I started really speaking out publicly when I was absolutely certain that I would never win an election, because I thought I was, asking for too much freedom, that sort of thing. But I started in 1974, and But things are changing rapidly now, and the growth, the foundation, the intellectual groundwork has been laid, and the numbers are coming out, and it is an idea whose time has come. There is no doubt about it. And an idea of that nature cannot be stopped by politicians, governments, guns, or anything else. These ideas are very powerful. In the old days, they had to be spread by word of mouth. And if we can contain the government's attempt to overtake the internet, believe me, the internet will spread these messages. I'll tell you. But in order to do this, you do have to have passion. There is no doubt about it. You have to really feel strongly about it and get involved. Educating oneself is very important to know, to understand why non-intervention foreign policy is a good policy, not a bad policy. We're not un-American, and we're not against the troops because we don't endorse illegal wars. I mean, that is nonsense. And one, I think, very good point for our campaign when they try to say, well, he doesn't support the troops, he doesn't support these wars. Yeah, but wonder why the troops support this campaign. That's what I want to know.
Bravo!
The passion for liberty has to be combined with reason and good policies. Ideas do have consequences. Bad ideas have bad consequences. Good ideas have good consequences. And this is where we're making great progress. This is where I feel good about what's happening. And the campuses are alive, and it's not so much, it's only a younger generation, but in many ways the younger generation has helped energize another generation, those who have felt like there's not much hope for what is happening. But true revolutions, if you look at it outside our country, when you look at them on TV in other countries where they're trying to overthrow tyranny, so often it's on the campuses. The young people have gotten up and have been willing to stand on principle. So this is a truly alive and well. And if you do, we will exceed expectations. I, quite frankly, believe that not much would come of my attempt to speak out and get a few things off my chest, but I've always been surprised that the reaction and the responses have been so favorable. So that is what will happen once you get more involved, and as you do it, the expectations will, the success will far exceed the expectations. So the main thing is to be positive about it. The other thing that I like to suggest is that it's long and hard and tedious, and sometimes it wears one out, but there are a lot of volunteers that have been involved in the campaign, working hard, phone calling and knocking on doors and all these things that they do. But it is rewarding, and it has to be done. But people should have fun doing it. There's very important thing, because you do meet other people that are like-minded. They might have different ideas about how to spend their money and how to run their personal lives, but all of a sudden they're your friend because you're fighting for the same thing, and that is the liberty and freedom of the individual. For me, the main goal is to, in my personal life, is to strive for excellence and virtue, which is something governments can't do for us. But you can achieve this and bring out the creative energy of each and every one of us in a free society. In a slave society and a totalitarian society, there are not many new inventions coming out, and it's just a survival mode. But in this country, we certainly had that spirit at one time. It's been lacking, but now that we face this bankruptcy, it should be seen as much as an opportunity as anything, because this will not be sustained. We cannot continue to pretend that prosperity comes out of a printing press and that we can all become rich by more debt. That is total nonsense, and that is the reason we have to talk about productive energy and freedom for the individual and an incentive system that is rewarded accordingly. And when we do this on an individual basis and act responsibly for ourselves and for our family, which is very, very important, that there's a sense of reward for this. There's a sense of a feeling of self-worth. That is something that cannot be achieved when somebody else is taking care of us. No matter what level we're at and what level of ability and a level of income that we have, I believe the sense of satisfaction is the same way. That people who work hard, use their talents, just take care of themselves, they can have every bit as much satisfaction as the individual who makes millions of dollars. And sometimes when people make millions of dollars and they haven't done it with honest work, they don't have the sense of satisfaction that somebody else will if they have the satisfaction that I worked hard, I take care of myself, I take care of my family, and that's what a free society is all about. So I thank you very much for being out here tonight. I want to close by just saying that this, to me, is so important for all of us. And there's every reason to believe that we are, on the verge of something occurring very, very big in a very positive way, even though it is still a very, very dangerous event that is transpiring economically and politically. But there's every reason to believe that if we continue to do this, that we will do well. And that there's a spirit alive in this country, and there's reason to be very hopeful, but it will not happen automatically. If we do nothing, believe me, the other side will run roughshod over us. Matter of fact, there's tremendous resistance toward these ideas as well. There's a lot of special interests out there. Those who benefit from the Federal Reserve and those who benefit in the military-industrial complex, those who benefit from our foreign adventurism,
Corrections.
will not go away easily. They are addicted to power. And the one thing that we want to do is dissipate power. We want to empower the individual and the people that want to take care of themselves and have those rewards and not depend on the power of government.
Talk about freeing the prisoners.
Freedom was well tried, and like I said, it's a relatively new idea. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to go backwards. They sometimes not only say that we want to go back to the Dark Ages, and I of course said that's what they want to do, but also they want to downplay the idea of minding our own business and only fighting constitutional war, that we're a bunch of isolationists. Freedom does not invite isolationism. It is we who believe in freedom and not putting on sanctions on people and fighting with people. It is we that would say it's time that we talk to the Cubans and trade with Cuba and not trade with Cuba. So this is a wonderful, wonderful philosophy. It's available to us, and we still have enough freedom to prevail. And this is what this campaign is all about. What will kind of transpire from the campaign, exactly what will happen on the California primary, I know we're going to do better than some expect. I hope you all go out and vote and participate.
I registered Republican.
We do not know what those results will be on the short run, but let me tell you, I believe on the long run, we are going to win this fight, and the liberty will be alive and well. And the goal, of course, will be to restore peace and prosperity to this land. Thank you very much.